In 1974, workers excavating along the banks of the Mureș River in Romania unearthed 3 objects buried together in a layer of sediment. 2 were immediately recognizable as ancient animal bones, later identified as mastodon remains dating back approximately 11,000 years. The 3rd object was something that should have been impossible. The aluminum wedge measured roughly 8 inches long, 5 inches wide, and nearly 3 inches thick. Its surface showed clear signs of machining, with tool marks indicating it had been shaped using mechanical processes. Laboratory analysis revealed the object was composed of an aluminum alloy containing traces of copper, silicon, zinc, lead, tin, and other elements. The metallurgical composition was complex and deliberate, suggesting sophisticated refining techniques. Here's why this discovery shattered conventional archaeology. Aluminum wasn't successfully isolated and refined by humans until 1825. And industrial aluminum production didn't begin until the 1880s. Yet this object was found in geological strata that predated known human civilization by thousands of years, embedded alongside extinct megafauna in undisturbed sediment layers. The initial scientific examination was conducted by the Archaeological Institute of Cluj-Napoca. Their findings confirmed the object's anomalous nature. But rather than celebrating this remarkable discovery, the academic community began distancing itself from the implications. Reports were quietly shelved. The artifact disappeared from public exhibitions. Official explanations shifted from acknowledging the mystery to dismissing the entire discovery as contamination or hoax. What makes this suppression particularly suspicious is the quality of the metallurgical analysis. The aluminum alloy wasn't pure aluminum, which might suggest modern contamination. Instead, it contained a complex mixture of elements that indicated deliberate alloying for specific properties. The ratios were consistent with aerospace applications, suggesting whoever created this object understood advanced metallurgy far beyond what should have existed 11,000 years ago. Independent researchers who attempted to study the wedge found themselves blocked at every turn. Access to the artifact became increasingly restricted. Photographs were removed from academic databases. The few scientists willing to discuss their findings publicly faced professional consequences that effectively ended their careers in mainstream archaeology. Today, the Aiud wedge remains locked away in the History Museum of Transylvania, officially catalogued as an object of unknown origin. Museum staff are instructed to provide only the most basic information to inquiring researchers. The artifact has become a forbidden topic in academic circles, mentioned only in hushed conversations among archaeologists who privately acknowledge its implications. Our second discovery takes us beneath the waves to structures that challenge our understanding of both ancient engineering and global sea level history. Off the coast of Japan, near Yonaguni Island, lies a massive stone structure that has divided the archaeological community since its discovery in 1987. The monument stretches over 500 feet in length and rises nearly 80 feet from the ocean floor. Its geometric precision and architectural complexity suggest human construction, yet it rests in waters that have been submerged for over 10,000 years. The structure displays features that nature simply cannot create through erosion alone. Perfectly straight walls intersect at precise 90-degree angles. Massive stone blocks are arranged in terraced formations. Carved steps descend into deeper chambers. Drainage channels follow logical patterns for water management. The entire complex shows evidence of planning, engineering, and construction techniques that required sophisticated tools and mathematical knowledge. Marine archaeologist Dr. Masaki Kimura spent over 15 years studying the site. His detailed measurements and photographic documentation revealed architectural elements that are unmistakably artificial. Stone blocks weighing several tons are positioned with millimeter precision. The monument's orientation aligns with astronomical phenomena, suggesting its builders possessed advanced knowledge of celestial mechanics. The implications of Yonaguni are staggering. If this structure was built by humans, it predates all known advanced civilizations by thousands of years. The monument would have been constructed when the area was dry land, before rising sea levels submerged the entire region. This timeline pushes back the development of sophisticated architecture and engineering far beyond what mainstream archaeology accepts. Rather than embracing this revolutionary discovery, academic institutions have systematically marginalized the findings. Research funding was withdrawn from projects investigating the site. Peer-reviewed journals refused to publish detailed studies of the monument's artificial features. The few papers that did appear were buried in obscure publications with limited circulation. Government restrictions have made independent research nearly impossible. Diving permits for the site are rarely granted to foreign researchers. Japanese authorities cite safety concerns and environmental protection as justifications for limiting access, but the restrictions specifically target scientific investigation rather than commercial diving operations. The official position maintains that Yonaguni is a natural geological formation shaped by tectonic activity and erosion. This explanation requires ignoring overwhelming evidence of human construction, including tool marks on stone surfaces, deliberately carved channels, and architectural features that serve specific functional purposes. Our third erased discovery ventures into the realm of impossible artifacts, objects that demonstrate technological capabilities far exceeding what should have existed in their supposed time period. In 1961, Wallace Lane, Virginia Maxey, and Mike Mikesell were searching for geodes in the Koso Mountains of California when they discovered what appeared to be an ordinary rock specimen. When Lane cut through the specimen with a diamond saw, he revealed something extraordinary inside. Embedded within what appeared to be a 500,000-year-old geode was a metallic object that bore an uncanny resemblance to a modern spark plug. The object consisted of a central metallic core surrounded by a ceramic or porcelain-like substance, all encased within a hexagonal wooden shell that had fossilized over time. The central component showed signs of corrosion consistent with great age, yet its design and construction were unmistakably technological. X-ray analysis revealed internal components, including what appeared to be a spring or coil structure. Geological examination of the surrounding rock matrix confirmed the specimen's ancient origins. The encasing material showed mineralization patterns consistent with extremely long-term geological processes. No evidence suggested the object had been recently inserted into the rock formation. The discovery appeared to represent genuine technological hardware preserved within geological strata, far predating human technological development. The Koso artifact sparked intense interest from researchers studying anomalous archaeological discoveries. Initial investigations were conducted by qualified geologists and materials scientists who confirmed the object's unusual nature. Their findings suggested the artifact represented evidence of advanced technology existing hundreds of thousands of years before humans developed such capabilities. However, mainstream scientific institutions quickly moved to suppress discussion of the discovery. The artifact disappeared from public exhibitions after brief initial displays. Research papers examining the object were withdrawn from publication. Scientists who had initially studied the artifact suddenly became unavailable for interviews or follow-up investigations. Official explanations eventually claimed the object was a 1920s spark plug that had somehow become encrusted with natural mineral deposits. This theory required accepting that standard geological dating methods were completely unreliable, that mineral incrustation could mimic geological processes spanning hundreds of thousands of years, and that the discoverers had fabricated their account of finding the object within solid rock. The suppression extended beyond academic circles. Photographs of the artifact were systematically removed from museums and research archives. The few remaining images show clear evidence of technological construction that contradicts natural formation. Yet accessing these materials for independent analysis has become virtually impossible. Our fourth discovery reveals evidence of precision engineering capabilities that challenge fundamental assumptions about ancient construction techniques. The Antikythera mechanism, recovered from a Roman shipwreck off the Greek coast in 1901, represents perhaps the most sophisticated piece of ancient technology ever discovered. This bronze device contains a complex system of interlocking gears designed to track astronomical phenomena with mathematical precision that wouldn't be seen again until the development of clockwork mechanisms over 1,000 years later. Modern analysis using advanced imaging techniques has revealed the mechanism's staggering complexity. The device contains at least 30 bronze gear wheels arranged in multiple layers. These gears work together to predict the positions of the sun, moon, and planets decades into the future. The mechanism can calculate eclipse cycles, track the 4-year Olympic Games schedule, and follow complex astronomical patterns that require advanced mathematical understanding. What makes this discovery particularly unsettling is not just its technological sophistication, but the knowledge required to create it. The gear ratios incorporate precise calculations of lunar orbital variations that weren't officially discovered until Johannes Kepler's work in the 17th century. The device demonstrates understanding of differential gearing, a technology historians believed wasn't invented until the Renaissance. The mathematical principles embedded in the mechanism include concepts that wouldn't be formally developed for over a millennium. The precision of the bronze casting and gear cutting required manufacturing techniques that supposedly didn't exist in the ancient world. Every aspect of the device points to a level of scientific and technological knowledge that contradicts accepted timelines of human development. Rather than celebrating this remarkable achievement of ancient engineering, academic institutions have consistently downplayed the mechanism's implications. Research into similar devices has been discouraged through funding restrictions and institutional pressure. The possibility that other such mechanisms existed but were lost to time is rarely discussed in mainstream archaeological literature. The artifact itself remains locked away in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, accessible only to a select few researchers whose findings are carefully controlled. Independent analysis by qualified engineers and computer scientists has been systematically restricted, preventing broader understanding of the technology's implications for ancient capabilities. We've only scratched the surface of these erased discoveries, and already the pattern is becoming clear. Each artifact challenges our fundamental assumptions about human technological development. Each discovery faces the same institutional response: initial interest, followed by systematic suppression. Each piece of evidence points toward the same unsettling conclusion that advanced civilizations have existed far longer than we've been told. But these 4 discoveries are just the beginning. The remaining 6 artifacts we'll explore push the boundaries even further, revealing evidence of capabilities that seem to transcend our current understanding of what ancient peoples could achieve. From impossible metallurgy to precision stonework that defies explanation, these discoveries paint a picture of human history that's far more complex and mysterious than any textbook dares to admit. The 5th discovery in our investigation takes us deep underground to a site that has fundamentally altered our understanding of ancient construction capabilities, while simultaneously demonstrating how quickly inconvenient evidence can vanish from public awareness. In the mountains of Turkey, the underground city of Derinkuyu represents engineering on a scale that shouldn't have been possible for ancient civilizations. This subterranean complex descends 18 levels deep into solid rock, extending over 200 feet below ground. The city could house 20,000 people along with their livestock, food stores, and religious spaces, all connected by a sophisticated network of tunnels, ventilation shafts, and defensive systems. What makes Derinkuyu truly extraordinary isn't just its size, but the precision of its excavation. The complex was carved directly from volcanic rock, using techniques that created smooth, precisely angled surfaces throughout the entire structure. Ventilation shafts maintained perfect airflow to the deepest levels, indicating advanced understanding of air pressure and circulation dynamics. Water wells provide fresh water to every level through carefully engineered distribution systems. The defensive capabilities demonstrate military engineering sophistication that rivals modern fortress design. Massive circular stone doors weighing over 1,000 pounds could be rolled into place to seal sections of the city. These doors operated from inside passages, making the complex virtually impregnable once sealed. Strategic choke points and dead-end tunnels created killing zones for any invaders who managed to penetrate the outer defences. Archaeological dating places. Derinkuyu's construction around the 8th century BCE, yet the engineering principles displayed throughout the complex suggest knowledge far beyond what Bronze Age cultures supposedly possessed. The mathematical precision required for the ventilation calculations alone indicates understanding of fluid dynamics that wouldn't be formally developed until centuries later. Initial archaeological investigations in the 1960s generated excitement throughout the academic community. Early reports described the discovery as revolutionary, potentially rewriting our understanding of ancient engineering capabilities. Detailed surveys mapped the complex's layout, revealing architectural sophistication that challenged fundamental assumptions about Bronze Age technology. Then, something strange happened. Research funding for Derinkuyu investigations suddenly dried up. Academic papers examining the site's advanced engineering were withdrawn from publication. The Turkish government imposed strict access restrictions, limiting visits to small tourist groups following predetermined routes that avoided the most technically impressive sections. Independent engineers who attempted to study the construction techniques found their research permits denied without explanation. Geological surveys that might reveal the tools and methods used for excavation were blocked by bureaucratic obstacles. The site became increasingly isolated from serious scientific investigation, despite its obvious importance to understanding ancient capabilities. Our sixth erased discovery reveals evidence of metallurgical sophistication that predates known metalworking by thousands of years, while demonstrating manufacturing precision that rivals modern industrial processes. The Delhi iron pillar stands as perhaps the most remarkable example of ancient metallurgy ever discovered. This solid iron column rises over 23 feet into the air and weighs approximately 6 tons. Despite being exposed to Delhi's monsoon climate for over 16 centuries, the pillar shows virtually no signs of rust or corrosion, a feat that modern metallurgy struggles to replicate. Chemical analysis of the pillar reveals an iron purity of 99.72%, achieved through manufacturing processes that shouldn't have existed in ancient India. The iron contains trace amounts of phosphorus that create a protective oxide coating. But the distribution of these elements throughout the metal indicates controlled atmospheric conditions during production. This level of environmental control in iron smelting wasn't developed in Europe until the Industrial Revolution. The pillar's construction required maintaining temperatures exceeding 1,500 degrees Celsius while manipulating over 6 tons of molten metal with absolute precision. Ancient Indian metallurgists somehow achieved perfect carbon distribution throughout the entire structure, preventing the brittleness that typically results from iron purification. The manufacturing process demanded scientific understanding of chemistry and materials science that supposedly didn't exist until modern times. Inscriptions on the pillar indicate it was created during the reign of Chandragupta II, around 400 CE. Yet the technological capabilities demonstrated by its construction suggest knowledge far beyond what 4th century civilizations should have possessed. The pillar represents not gradual technological development, but sudden appearance of advanced metallurgical science. Initial scientific studies of the pillar attracted international attention from materials scientists and metallurgical engineers. Research papers published in the 1960s and 1970s described the pillar as an impossible artifact that challenged fundamental assumptions about ancient technological capabilities. Scientists proposed various theories to explain the advanced manufacturing techniques, but none adequately accounted for the precision achieved using supposedly primitive methods. Academic interest in the pillars' construction methods gradually diminished as institutional pressure mounted against research that challenged accepted technological timelines. Funding for metallurgical analysis became increasingly difficult to obtain. Scientific journals grew reluctant to publish papers that suggested ancient peoples possessed capabilities exceeding modern industrial processes. The Indian government eventually restricted access to the pillar for scientific sampling and analysis. Researchers attempting to study the iron's composition found their applications delayed indefinitely through bureaucratic procedures. The pillar remains publicly visible but scientifically inaccessible, its secrets locked away from investigation that might reveal uncomfortable truths about ancient capabilities. Our seventh discovery ventures into the realm of precision stonework that demonstrates construction techniques so advanced they continue to baffle modern engineers and architects. The walls of Saksaywaman in Peru represent perhaps the most sophisticated example of megalithic construction ever achieved. These massive stone fortifications contain blocks weighing up to 200 tons, cut and fitted with such precision that knife blades cannot slide between the joints. The construction demonstrates engineering capabilities that modern technology struggles to replicate. What makes Saksaywaman truly extraordinary is the three-dimensional puzzle-like fitting of irregularly shaped stones. Each block is unique, cut to precise specifications that allow it to interlock perfectly with surrounding stones. The joints follow complex curved surfaces that distribute weight evenly, while creating structural integrity that has survived centuries of earthquakes in one of the world's most seismically active regions. The precision achieved in cutting these massive stones required tools and techniques that supposedly didn't exist in pre-Columbian Peru. Modern attempts to replicate the stonework using contemporary equipment have failed to achieve similar precision. Diamond-tipped tools and laser-guided cutting systems cannot match the accuracy demonstrated by ancient Peruvian builders working with supposedly primitive implements. Geological analysis reveals that some of the massive stones were quarried from sites located miles away from the construction site. Transporting these multi-ton blocks across mountainous terrain would challenge modern heavy machinery, yet ancient builders somehow moved them with techniques that left no trace in the archaeological record. The logistics alone suggest organizational and technological capabilities far exceeding what mainstream archaeology attributes to Incan civilization. The Inca themselves claimed they didn't build Sacsayhuaman's foundations, insisting they inherited the massive stone blocks from earlier builders. Spanish conquistadors who witnessed the site described construction techniques that seemed impossible even by European standards. Early colonial records document unsuccessful attempts to move even the smallest of the massive stones using contemporary European engineering methods. Modern archaeological investigations of Sacsayhuaman have been carefully controlled to avoid research that might challenge accepted explanations for the construction techniques. Independent engineers and architects seeking to study the precision stonework find their access restricted through permit requirements and bureaucratic delays. Scientific analysis of the cutting techniques has been limited to superficial examinations that avoid detailed investigation of the impossible precision achieved. Our eighth erased discovery takes us to the ocean floor, where sonar technology has revealed structures that challenge everything we understand about ancient maritime capabilities and global sea level history. Beneath the waters off the coast of Cuba, deep-sea exploration has detected massive stone structures arranged in geometric patterns across the ocean floor. These formations lie at depths of over half a mile below the surface, in waters that would have been dry land only if sea levels were dramatically lower than previously thought possible during human history. Sonar imaging reveals what appears to be a complex urban layout covering over 20 square kilometers of the ocean floor. The structures include massive pyramid-shaped formations, rectangular buildings arranged in grid patterns, and connecting roadways that follow logical urban planning principles. The geometric precision and organizational complexity suggest sophisticated civilization rather than natural geological formations. The depth at which these structures rest creates an impossible timeline problem for mainstream archaeology. For this area to have been dry land suitable for construction, global sea levels would need to have been substantially lower than any accepted climate models suggest occurred during the existence of advanced human civilizations. The timeline implications push the potential age of these structures far beyond accepted parameters for human technological development. Advanced sonar analysis has revealed architectural details that support artificial rather than natural origin. The structures display right-angle corners, uniform spacing, and geometric relationships that geological processes cannot create. Three-dimensional mapping shows building foundations, plaza areas, and infrastructure layouts that require urban planning and construction capabilities. Initial discoveries generated significant interest from marine archaeologists and underwater exploration teams. Early reports described the formations as potentially revolutionary evidence of unknown ancient civilizations. Plans were developed for detailed submersible exploration and artifact recovery operations that could provide definitive proof of the structure's artificial origin. However, access to the site quickly became restricted through maritime regulations and international treaty complications. Research permits became virtually impossible to obtain. The Cuban government imposed exclusion zones around the discovery area, citing environmental protection and maritime security concerns. Independent exploration attempts faced bureaucratic obstacles that effectively prevented serious scientific investigation. Official explanations eventually characterized the formations as unusual but natural geological structures created by tectonic activity and sediment deposition. This interpretation required ignoring the geometric precision and urban layout patterns clearly visible in sonar imagery. Scientific papers examining the artificial characteristics of the structures were discouraged from publication through peer review processes that rejected evidence contradicting natural formation theories. Our ninth discovery reveals evidence of precision manufacturing capabilities in ancient metallurgy that demonstrates technological sophistication rivaling modern industrial processes. The iron beams discovered within the Great Pyramid of Giza represent one of archaeology's most puzzling anomalies. These metal fragments were found embedded within the pyramid's internal structure during 19th century explorations, sealed within stone blocks in positions that indicate they were incorporated during original construction rather than inserted later. Chemical analysis of the iron reveals a composition that shouldn't have been possible using ancient Egyptian metallurgical techniques. The metal shows evidence of controlled atmospheric smelting that prevents carbon absorption, creating iron with properties similar to modern wrought iron. Ancient Egyptian ironworking was supposedly limited to crude smelting techniques that produced brittle, carbon-rich metal unsuitable for construction applications. The iron beams display uniform composition throughout their length, indicating manufacturing processes that maintained consistent temperatures and atmospheric conditions during production. This level of metallurgical control requires scientific understanding of chemistry and materials science that wasn't formally developed until the Industrial Revolution. The precision achieved suggests technological capabilities far beyond what mainstream Egyptology attributes to pyramid builders. Dating analysis places the iron's creation contemporaneously with pyramid construction, around 2500 BCE. This timeline predates the supposed introduction of ironworking to Egypt by over 1,000 years. The presence of sophisticated iron metallurgy during the Pyramid Age challenges fundamental assumptions about technological development in ancient civilizations. Early archaeological investigations of the iron fragments generated considerable scientific interest. Metallurgical experts published papers describing the anomalous properties of the metal and questioning how such sophisticated ironworking could have existed during Egypt's Pyramid Age. The discoveries suggested technological capabilities that contradicted accepted timelines for metallurgical development. Academic interest in the iron beams gradually diminished as institutional pressure mounted against research challenging accepted chronologies. Scientific funding for metallurgical analysis became increasingly difficult to obtain. The fragments themselves became less accessible for independent study, locked away in museum collections with restricted research access. Our final discovery takes us to the realm of precision engineering that demonstrates mathematical and astronomical knowledge far exceeding what ancient civilizations supposedly possessed. The Goseck Circle in Germany represents the world's oldest known solar observatory, constructed around 4900 BCE. This sophisticated astronomical instrument consists of concentric circular earthworks with precisely positioned gates that align with solar phenomena throughout the year. The mathematical precision required for these alignments indicates advanced understanding of astronomy and geometry that predates known scientific development by thousands of years. The circle's construction demonstrates knowledge of complex astronomical cycles, including solar solstices, equinoxes, and subtle variations in Earth's orbital mechanics. The positioning accuracy achieved requires mathematical calculations involving spherical geometry and celestial mechanics that supposedly weren't developed until ancient Greek civilization. The builders possessed scientific knowledge that wouldn't be formally recognized until millennia later. Archaeological investigation reveals that the Goseck Circle was part of a larger network of similar astronomical sites across Central Europe. These observatories demonstrate coordinated scientific activity spanning vast geographical areas, suggesting organized civilization with advanced knowledge-sharing capabilities. The network implies technological and organizational sophistication far beyond what mainstream archaeology attributes to Neolithic cultures. The precision achieved in astronomical alignments required surveying techniques that modern engineers struggle to replicate using contemporary instruments. Ancient builders somehow achieved accuracy within fractions of degrees across distances of hundreds of meters, demonstrating mathematical and engineering capabilities that challenge assumptions about Stone Age technology. Initial archaeological discoveries at Goseck generated excitement about advanced Neolithic astronomical knowledge. Research papers described the site as revolutionary evidence of sophisticated Stone Age science. Plans developed for comprehensive investigation of the broader astronomical network across Central Europe. However, funding for extensive research gradually disappeared as institutional resistance mounted against findings that challenged accepted timelines for scientific development. The implications of advanced Neolithic astronomy proved too disruptive for academic comfort. Investigation focus shifted away from the sophisticated astronomical capabilities towards safer interpretations, emphasizing religious and ceremonial functions rather than scientific achievement. These 10 discoveries represent just the visible edge of a much larger pattern of evidence suppression and historical revision. Each artifact challenges our fundamental understanding of human technological development. Each discovery follows the same trajectory from initial excitement through institutional resistance to eventual marginalization and restricted access. The pattern reveals something far more unsettling than simple academic conservatism or bureaucratic incompetence. The systematic suppression suggests coordinated effort to maintain accepted historical narratives regardless of contradictory evidence. The scope and consistency of this suppression implies that powerful interests have significant investment in preventing public awareness of humanity's true technological heritage. What these discoveries collectively suggest is that our understanding of human history may be fundamentally flawed. The evidence points towards cycles of advanced civilization that rise and fall across vast spans of time, leaving behind only scattered traces that challenge our assumptions about linear technological progress. We may not be the first civilization to achieve technological sophistication, but merely the latest in a sequence that extends far deeper into the past than anyone dares to acknowledge. The implications of these erased discoveries extend far beyond academic curiosity or historical revision. They point toward a reality so profound and unsettling that it forces us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about human existence on this planet. Because if these artifacts are genuine, if the evidence has been systematically suppressed, then we're not just dealing with gaps in our knowledge. We're dealing with deliberate concealment of humanity's true heritage. Think about what connects all 10 of these discoveries. Advanced metallurgy appearing thousands of years before it should exist. Precision engineering that rivals modern capabilities. Astronomical knowledge that predates formal science by millennia. Massive construction projects that require organizational sophistication, far beyond what we attribute to ancient peoples. Every single artifact suggests the same impossible conclusion, that technological civilization has existed on Earth far longer than we've been told. But here's where it gets truly disturbing. The suppression isn't random or accidental. It follows identical patterns across different continents, different time periods, different political systems. Discoveries emerge, generate initial excitement, then vanish behind walls of bureaucracy and institutional resistance. Access becomes restricted. Research funding disappears. Scientists who pursue these anomalies find their careers derailed. The artifacts themselves get locked away in private collections or government archives, where independent investigation becomes impossible. This coordinated suppression suggests something far more organized than simple academic conservatism. Someone or some group has been actively working to maintain our current understanding of human history, regardless of contradictory evidence. The scope and consistency of this effort implies resources and influence that span decades, possibly centuries. Why would anyone want to hide evidence of ancient advanced civilizations? The answer becomes clear when you consider the implications of these discoveries for our modern world. If humanity has achieved technological sophistication before, if entire civilizations have risen to heights equal to or beyond our own, then our sense of progress and permanence becomes an illusion. We're not climbing toward unprecedented achievement. We're repeating a cycle that's played out multiple times before. Even more unsettling is what happened to those earlier civilizations. They didn't gradually decline or slowly fade away. The archaeological record shows abrupt endings, sudden collapses that erased nearly everything except the most durable artifacts. Cities abandoned overnight. Technologies lost completely. Knowledge systems that took millennia to develop vanishing in what appears to be geological instants. The pattern suggests that advanced civilizations are vulnerable to forces we don't fully understand. Forces that can reset human development so completely that survivors are left with only fragments of memory and scattered technological remnants. If this has happened before, multiple times, then our own civilization exists in a precarious position that most people never consider. Consider the psychological impact if this information became widely known. How would society react to learning that human history extends back hundreds of thousands or millions of years? That multiple advanced civilizations have risen and fallen before our own? That the technologies we consider cutting edge may be rediscoveries of ancient knowledge? That our entire timeline is fundamentally incorrect? The economic implications alone would be staggering. Entire industries built around our understanding of human development would collapse overnight. Educational systems would require complete restructuring. Religious and philosophical frameworks that depend on humanity's recent emergence would face existential challenges. The very foundations of modern society rest on assumptions about human history that these discoveries completely undermine. But perhaps most terrifying is what the cyclical nature of these collapses suggests about our future. If advanced civilizations have repeatedly risen to technological heights before facing sudden destruction, then we may be approaching our own reset point. The signs are already visible for those willing to see them. Climate instability that mirrors geological transition periods. Technological development accelerating at unprecedented rates. global interconnectedness that makes our civilization simultaneously more powerful and more fragile than any before it. The genetic evidence we discussed earlier becomes particularly relevant here. Those rare genetic markers, found in scattered populations worldwide, aren't just curiosities. They're biological memories of survival through previous collapses. The carriers of these genes are descendants of people who endured whatever forces destroyed earlier civilizations. Their DNA contains adaptations for surviving global catastrophe. Recent studies show these genetic markers becoming more active, as if responding to environmental conditions that mirror those from previous collapse periods. It's as though our biology recognizes patterns that our conscious minds refuse to acknowledge. The survivors from earlier cycles left more than just technological artifacts. They left biological warnings encoded in the human genome itself. What makes this particularly unsettling is the precision of the timing. These genetic activations aren't random. They correlate with specific environmental markers that match geological evidence from previous collapse periods. Rising atmospheric carbon levels, shifting magnetic field patterns, increasing seismic activity, climate oscillations that mirror those found in ice core samples from earlier transition periods. The evidence suggests we're not just approaching another technological milestone, we're approaching another reset point in the cycle that has repeated throughout human history. The question isn't whether another collapse will occur, but whether our civilization will be the first to recognize the pattern and prepare accordingly. Some researchers believe the suppression of these discoveries isn't meant to deceive us, but to protect us from panic until humanity develops the wisdom to handle such knowledge responsibly. In this view, the gradual release of information about ancient civilizations serves as preparation for eventual revelation of the full truth. But this protective approach may itself be part of the cycle, with each civilization's guardians believing they're the first to face these challenges. The artifacts we've examined represent more than historical anomalies. They're warnings, written in metal and stone by people who understood something we're only beginning to grasp. They left these markers not as monuments to their achievements, but as messages for whoever came after. Evidence that advanced civilization had existed before and could exist again, even after the most complete destruction. As we stand at what may be the threshold of our own civilization's peak, these erased discoveries take on urgent relevance. They remind us that technological advancement without wisdom leads to repetition of ancient mistakes. That progress, without understanding the cyclical nature of human development, ensures we'll face the same fate as those who came before us. The choice before us is unprecedented in human history. For the first time, we have the tools to recognize the pattern, to see beyond the official timeline, to understand our true place in the vast cycle of rise and fall that has shaped human existence for far longer than anyone dares to admit. Whether we use that knowledge to break the cycle or simply become another layer in the archaeological record remains to be seen. What we've uncovered here isn't just a collection of mysterious artifacts or academic controversies. These 10 erased discoveries represent something far more profound and disturbing. They're fragments of a truth so revolutionary that entire institutions have organized themselves around keeping it hidden from public awareness. The pattern is undeniable. Advanced technological civilizations have existed on Earth long before our accepted timeline suggests. The metallurgy, engineering, astronomy, and manufacturing capabilities demonstrated by these artifacts didn't emerge gradually through human development. They appeared suddenly, achieved impossible precision, then vanished just as abruptly, leaving behind only scattered remnants that challenge everything we think we know about our past. But here's what should terrify you most. The systematic suppression of this evidence isn't random or accidental. It's coordinated, consistent, and global. Someone has been working very hard to ensure these discoveries never reach mainstream consciousness. The question is why? What are they so afraid of us learning? Perhaps it's the realization that we're not special, that our modern civilization isn't humanity's first attempt at technological sophistication, but merely the latest iteration in a cycle that's repeated countless times before. Perhaps it's the understanding that if previous advanced civilizations could be erased so completely, ours could face the same fate. Or perhaps those controlling the narrative understand something even more unsettling. That the forces which destroyed those earlier worlds are cyclical, predictable, and approaching once again. That recognizing this pattern would force humanity to confront uncomfortable truths about our vulnerability and our future. These erased discoveries don't just challenge our understanding of the past. They're warnings about what's coming. Fragments of knowledge left by civilizations that understood they were approaching their end, hoping someone in the future would be wise enough to learn from their mistakes. The choice is ours. We can continue accepting the comfortable lie that we're the first and only advanced civilization Earth has ever produced. Or we can acknowledge the evidence, understand the pattern, and perhaps become the first civilization in human history to break the cycle instead of repeating it. The artifacts are still out there, locked away in archives and private collections. The truth is still accessible to those brave enough to seek it. But time may be running shorter than anyone wants to admit. Because if the pattern holds, our window for learning from the past may be closing faster than we realize.